Wonderful. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Pi Day edition of the SEQP Planning Telecon, March 14th, of course. I realized today I saw an article that in England, they may celebrate their own Pi Day on the 22nd of July, 7/22. So that's a pretty good approximation. So there may be a second Pi Day coming up on our calendar. Okay. Anyhow, let's start as we usually do. Ed, you want to give us a
thanks. Hi, everybody. So I'll try to be quick today because I know we've got a lot, and I'm going to yield some time over to Gary AB4GH on a topic. So just really quickly, in terms of placements, obviously in terms of deadlines, we are in good shape. Everything that we needed to get posted is out and either has appeared or is going to appear in the next week or so. So I think we're in pretty good shape there. The only piece that I've still got a little hesitancy about is the piece that we sent to CQ. And obviously we still don't know what their status is. But as I mentioned last week, I was going to drop a note to Practical Wireless in the UK to see if we might be able to repurpose it. And I did get a note of interest. So, and the question was sort of, because I sort of prefaced it by saying that we knew that we were going to send it somewhere else first. And I think obviously, it's a small world and everybody sort of knows what's going on. But, the point was that, if it doesn't publish, that they'd be willing to take a look at it if we can repurpose it as a story post Eclipse, which obviously would give us some really good exposure in Europe because it is the biggest English language magazine for ham radio in Europe. So that's where we are today. In terms of meetings, Gary will know, I've totally screwed this up this week in terms of double booking people. So Gary has... AF8A has really been great in terms of picking up some of the pieces that I double booked on, and John Landigan picked up a piece for next Wednesday. But basically, I think we've got something every night, and even on the weekends until next Wednesday, for sure. And obviously, there's some that we've done, the last couple of nights without any premise. So I think we've gotten a decent amount of exposure, and the questions have been good, other than the one that asked me what time at night is the eclipse, but that's neither here nor there. Obviously, Gary, you might want to talk a little bit about AF8A in terms of the ICQ podcast and things like that. We've also got to the March 27th open date for just an open Zoom meeting. We've sort of focused on clubs, as you well know, in terms of all of our outbound research and our outbound reach. And I think we've gotten a decent return. The 27th, we've got 2 shows that are just basically open for hams. We've already gotten some response, in terms of either clubs or individuals saying that they planned on being there, which is good. So we won't be alone, at least on the 27th. Podcast, Gary, I'll leave obviously ICQ up to you. The other piece that I just want to mention is that I've dropped a note, and I'm expecting to get a call back either late today or tomorrow. I pitched MFJ, as I mentioned I would do it last week. Obviously they do a weekly newsletter, and obviously it's sort of selling their goods, but I think it wouldn't hurt to ask if they might give us a plug, because they've got a pretty good mailing list, and obviously it may be a different type of ham, who's obviously in the market for goods and services, but obviously just might be an interest. I haven't seen it anywhere else, but I sort of saw it off the MFJ list. And if that works, I can certainly move it either to DXE or Gigaparts a little closer to deadline. So we'll see what happens. Again, maybe late today or certainly first thing tomorrow. I've got to call into their marketing person. So let me turn it over with that. Gary, let me turn it over to you, AB4GH, who's doing potentially an interesting pitch with a local television station down where he is. So Gary, over to you, AB4GH.
If I might pipe up just before you
turn
it over to Gary. There was an interesting presentation Tuesday night by Blue Hill Observatory.
Yeah.
And Hamside did get mentioned.
Great.
In the citizen science that people can get involved with.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll add that to the list, okay, if we can.
Yep.
And that was
that was part of
right?
the STARS club, which is under New England SciTech.
That's great.
That was a joint meeting.
Yeah. So thank you, David. Done. Added on. So Gary, over to you, AB4GH.
Okay, I've got confirmation today. We've been keeping in touch with the president of Holmesburg Amateur Radio Club in Philadelphia. I've got a PowerPoint presentation on the 20th. of March, and then April 2nd, I've got the president of St. Augustine Amateur Radio Society gonna do a presentation, and they use Google Meet for their online meetings, but I can't get the PowerPoint presentation to feed through so that when I'm giving a presentation through Zoom, I can see people raise their hands and say, hey, do you have a question or something like that. With Google Meet, I can't get that same response. So they're going to go ahead and, like I said, whatever I'm comfortable with, they'll work with Zoom, and their members most likely are comfortable with Zoom as well. I had an interesting encounter in a phone call. I had a field reporter that covered our clubs here in Richmond, and club that he covered some of the Hamfest, and he covered our last field day last year. And he somehow or the other, I gave him well, one of the ham site cards and all that. So he looked it up, and he said that he wants to put it through and see if he can put it up through his chain of command to get to the chief meteorologist named Bill Meck at LEX 18 to see if he can do a story and come down here with a camera, and on the day of the eclipse, basically get some video footage from me trying to make contacts before, during, and afterwards, something that would show the scientific end of it towards it, because he said all they have scheduled, and it's all that's on the board right now, he says, is sending reporters to Western Kentucky where the path of totality is, reporters covering that. He says there's a lot of canned feeds that they're going to be picking up from other locations. He says, but something that's actually is science related, or something that is would be helpful for other people to understand that, hey, if you're just a shortwave listener on radio, you can participate, and this is how you can do it. And this was, he was just wanting to get permission for it. So far, it looks like he's going to get cleared to do it. If so, I have a camera over my shoulder, which is fine with me. And but that was something that he thought was lacking in their reporting schedule, or their storyboard that they were laying out for the eclipse. They just didn't have anything in science. He said the closest thing they came to science is chief meteorologist given basically some graphics on screen of what to expect and not to look up and all that, and how to make your own device. They had canned footage on how to make your own device to look at it without looking at glasses. And he says the only thing that was science-wise that he could see on the board was the NASA aircraft that was trying to race ahead of the eclipse like it did in 2017 and try to get ahead of it. So he said that was about it. So I'm like, I'm for it. You get it cleared. I said, my wife says it's okay, so I'm ready. So let's do it.
Yeah, Nathaniel, I mean, this also sort of goes back to what Bill Johnson and the league were trying to do, in terms of video. So if we can pull this off, I'll let Bill and Sierra know. Okay,
That sounds great.
So that they're on board with it as well too. Okay, so
Yeah.
good work, Gary, if you can make it work. So
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Gary.
that's
all I
all
got.
I have from here, other than I'm showing up at a Hamfest in Martin County here in Florida and giving out the last of my cards. So I'm totally out. So, and it's free admission, so I expect to get them all away. So.
So Ed, I gave out a bunch of these on Tuesday, a couple days ago. I gave a talk on what to do during the eclipse to an astronomy club here in Montclair.
That's great. So Gary, you're muted, by the way, AF8A.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.
Okay, good. Nice updates and a lot of potential. Yeah, today I thought today was the ICQ podcast, but that's actually tomorrow at 1700 hours. So I got a little break. Yeah, last night was at Hazel Park. The guys up in Michigan, JWB at SBI. I talked to his club again, so we got them pretty well covered. Fired up, I hope, for operating. Let's see. As Ed mentioned, the Zoom roundtable is all set up. There's a lot of publicity. We're getting a lot of views on QRZ.com. So nothing more to talk about there other than we're ready and we're getting the word out there. So that's a positive thing. One thing I did have in the schedule, I know Steve Serwin's here today with us. I saw some correspondence about updating the waveforms and things for the TDOA event. It's good to know that that is alive and well and will be active as well in a couple of weeks. Steve, I know we've also had a few new signups and stuff coming into the web form and stuff. Is there anything you want to say about the TDOA, or are we just ready to go?
We're going to have another dry run. I'll let you know when that's going to be. We've gotten some results now from, we took part of the analysis and had Nathaniel's DSP class take a look at it. And we've had two separate independent analyses. Tom K1FR analyzed the waveforms based on a correlation method, which we worked on for a while and eventually evolved into an autocorrelation method, and it worked really, really well. In fact, that was the subject of the poster that Nathaniel presented for me at AGU. And it showed a bump. I mean, we saw the eclipse. It happened right when it should happen. Some other interesting things was we plotted both 60-meter and 40-meter data. They both peaked up, but at slightly different times, which I thought was pretty interesting. Different depths too, that I can understand. I mean, you'd think that different frequencies penetrate different amounts into the layers. I mean, skin effect tells you that, but it's pretty interesting. So there's some neat things to ponder over. Now the data that Nathaniel's students have come up with are showing really, really good correlation with the autocorrelation analysis, which is a good thing. You do things two different ways and get the same answer. That's a good thing. So Alex will be presenting a poster on that data at the upcoming workshop in Cleveland. And I'll have the same poster that was at AGU. And we'll also have a little tabletop antenna range. So all that's in the works coming up for the workshop. And what else? You got anything that would add to that, Nathaniel?
I think you pretty much covered it.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good, really. A couple of things that we ran into that we didn't know until Alex got through with his analyses was that the faster chirps don't play well with all radios. The 100 and the 50 hertz per millisecond chirps, those are the two fastest ones, did not track with the slower ones. And I have a feeling it has to do with the multi-pole audio filters used in modern radios. And we had those problems both with a Kenwood TS430, which is an all analog radio, and with a 7610, which has got a DSP rear end. But, for example, you figure, say, a 3-pole Chevy Chev filter. It's got 3 different resonances in the passband, 3 different Qs. It means you got 3 different phase transfer functions throughout the passband. And it was just distorting the phase response. I think that's my best guess anyway. But anyway, once we just ignored the weirdness we got out of those fast chirps, the 2 slower ones agreed very, very well, and the results agreed very well with the autocorrelation analysis. So anyway, I think it's all looking pretty good. I'm pretty excited about it.
Nice. Okay, great. Thanks for the update. What I was thinking about as I was listening to you is how fortunate we were to have 2 major eclipses across the continental U.S. only 6 months apart. I don't know how often that sort of thing occurs, but it's better than having to send you to the far corners of the earth to get data one eclipse and then again another. And here you are, you're able to sit at home and run the experiment. And most everybody is. So very, very lucky in that respect.
I have a ForeFlight has published a eclipse path to go over this is a flying. I fly with this. It goes on my iPad. It's a moving map of sectional displays, aviation maps, and they plotted the eclipse over it, and they showed which parts get 4 minutes worth of totality. A little wider than that's 3 minutes of totality, and wider than that is totality, but not as much as 3 minutes. And I'm in that 3-minute zone. So this one's going to pass darn near over my head again as well.
You just have quite the location there, Steve.
Yeah, X marks the spot on the
I think you win the jackpot for picking the right QTH to live in for this
I
for
think
this
so.
experiment.
I think so.
All right, great. Any questions for Steve on the time delay of arrival experiment? All right, great. Well, thank you for the update, Steve. It's good to hear that. Yeah, and if you do a dry run, let me know. I'd be glad to post it on the website or do a mass email to the people who signed up and so on and so forth. So I'll help you get the word out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. One thing, I've got two questions. If you guys can, actually a question for two people. If you guys can give me a second. I've also been working today on the Grape 2 project. That's going to ship imminently. As I said, some people in an email today, if from an American football analogy, we're at 4th and goal on the 1-yard line, and they're just about to push it over. So I see Ward is here today. Ward, I've got a question for you. Assuming we send you a Grape 2, are you able to hook it up with a wired Ethernet connection? In other words, they're telling us the Wi-Fi may be sketchy at starting.
Yeah, I can run a cable upstairs.
Okay, good. Thank you. That keeps you on the list. That's the right answer. That helps.
Okay.
We just would have had to delay it probably if that weren't the case. So great. Let's see. Ron KF7ZN was here a little while ago. Is Ron still here, or do you have to jump out? Maybe he had to jump out. Okay. I'll check with him by email. So, okay. Thanks for allowing me that. One less email to send. Okay. So the solar eclipse QSO party cards that Mary Lou was showing us a while ago were fairly popular, to say the least. We've given out a couple of thousand of them, or well, twice over, probably somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 of them out in circulation. We talked about last week, what if we extended that concept and had a more general HAMSI card that we could hand out at various different events. So I took a quick stab at putting something together. I just want to say that in no way, shape, or form is I'm sure this is anything close to the final design, but it shows a couple of concepts that came to me while my mind was kind of wandering one day. Don't worry, it did manage to wander back, but it was wandering and it's back. So let me do my share screen thing here. I'll tell you what I was thinking, and then we can figure out if we want to pursue any of this or if people want to go back and think about it and present their own ideas another day. All right, let me say okay to that, fold that up, get this out of the way. Okay, hopefully you guys are seeing what looks like maybe a business card.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my first thought was, again, two-sided. The first side, the way Randy usually prints these, has got the color on it, and that's the glossy side. And the black and white is more of a matte finish, but it's black and white on the back side. My thought was to do some sort of splashy either photograph or image on the front. The first thing that came to my mind was a ray trace diagram, just because they're long and narrow and it would fit, and they're colorful. But again, people may have other ideas, maybe a lot of other things. We have options to try stuff out here. I obviously wanted to get our name out there, our full name, so we don't have to explain people what HAMSI means. We're talking to them. And I also thought it would be kind of neat if we could at some point kind of come up with a catchphrase. Something, ICOM's got a great one, for the love of ham radio. I think that's ICOM. They've got a great advertising slogan. I was wondering if we shouldn't do the same thing for HAMSI. And a lot of people can have input on this, and we got a lot of clever people in the group. So who knows what you all may come up with. But anyhow, the thing I threw together, and I was trying to keep it to 5 or 6 words or 7 words, nothing too long, was the synthesis of amateur radio and space physics. Something to, like say, as a catchy phrase. So when people take this thing home after the ham fest or club meeting or whatever else it wants, they got something to think about. The backside, straightforward, our fabulous logo, which is getting to be pretty well known, a QR code back to hamsci.org. But also I wanted to get some verbs about what we do, or what people would do and why they would want to come to hamsci.org. Obviously, explore, learn, participate. Those were kind of three verbs that I thought would fit into that fairly well.
I would
threw
suggest
together.
putting participate first.
Okay. Let's see if we did that. It's doable. Clean that up a little bit. Any other comments or thoughts about, or does somebody want to, obviously you guys want to think about it and come back. We're not in any hurry on this. I would like to have them before the date in Hamvention, so we've got at least a couple of weeks to think about it before we might want to send these off to printing.
Looks nice.
I like the graphic. It's very eye-catching, and it is interesting enough that people will ask, "What is this?" And once they ask, you've got their attention, and you can give them a story.
Install it now.
I like it too.
The other thing I was thinking about, let me show you the second version I was fooling with, is just a black and white one. Maybe somebody has an opinion on this too, or maybe it's a good one for the printer to ask. I don't know how well this tiny text and stuff will show up in print. And I was thinking about, I took the scale off of here, which frankly, I didn't quite understand what the scale was all about. Nathaniel would have to fill me in on that one.
It's electron density.
Oh, it is that? Okay. Makes sense. So I was thinking about taking some of this text off of here and just put, leaving a frequency and say ionospheric ray trace or some such thing like that. Maybe the ground range and stuff is pretty clear, but I don't know if that would help clean up the diagram or make it easier to print. I don't know.
Well, it looks, just from this display, it looks like you don't have enough resolution for print.
Yeah.
So what you're going to have to do is go back to the original graphic and grab the full resolution and let the printer worry about resizing it. Yeah, see, it's fuzzy. So you can get away with that on the diagram, but all of the text is going to have to be considerably crisper if it's going to work. But you should be able to get a high resolution output from the ray tracing software.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted, no, not all, it's different topics. So, I mean, just one other suggestion on the side with the QR code is maybe participate, explore, learn on one line, and then hamsci.org below it, but a little bit larger. Call attention to the website.
Yeah, that's good.
Because that's what we're really driving people to.
See if I can do this real quickly without
Yeah,
boring
if
everybody.
not, we just redo it.
No, I'm sure I could do it. I just don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, but Ward, that's a good point on resolution. It is tough to see.
A lot of these things are going to be set out on tables or stuck on bulletin boards or what have you. So what looks to us reasonably good here on the computer is often too small to see.
Yeah.
You're trying to grab people's attention in a second or two as they're walking by from 6 feet or more. So I would make the QR code smaller and make HamSci really big, like ridiculously big from our point of view here, because we're looking at it right at our screen.
Yeah.
I found this out. My wife is running for school board, and if you have a sign that's too small, it may look real arty and pretty, but you've only got a fraction of a second to catch somebody's eye going down the street. So it has to be boring, big, and bold. One word maybe. That's it.
Yeah, and if I can reinforce it, I don't know how this comes out on camera. It's not going to come out on camera. But I've got a business card that obviously I'm using with press and handing out. And the HamSci piece looks a lot bigger. So in fact, here it is. Okay. So.
Yeah.
Yep. So Just one other point, and this is just a quibble, okay? The longer you look at it, is synthesis is a tough word for a lot of people. Okay, I mean, I don't know exactly what the synonym might be, but nevertheless, and
Combining.
obviously this, pardon me?
Combining.
Yeah, combining, yep, yeah, that type of thing. Yeah, sort of know your audience, that type of thing, so.
I think the word that first hit me was blending, and I didn't think that was right. And I did
Yeah,
start
yeah,
poking around on
it's
some of the
it's a
synonym
quibble at this
websites.
point, but it's just something to look at, so.
No,
Partnership?
that's pretty important.
Yeah,
How about partnership?
that's an interesting word.
Q reader,
Do
QR.
we even need those words? I mean, just amateur radio and space physics.
Yep, yep.
For the scientific and the terrifying merge.
I've got an idea for a slogan.
Yeah, and then make the words really big. This is
Yep.
this is something, it's not a poster presentation. It's
Yeah.
something, it's an eye catcher to say, hey, go to this website.
Yep, you
So-
want to pick it up, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. Mhm.
Yeah.
I did want to I want to make sure at least we got some balance between our ham sci and this as well, though, too.
Mhm.
Gary, I've got a slogan idea.
Sure.
Connecting the dots between ham radio and science. That's just a thought.
I like that.
I like connecting the dots. That's just a fine one right there, kind of amateur radio and space physics. And the next line, a little smaller, is connecting the dots.
There you go.
And dashes.
Yes, and does.
It's and does, that's right, yeah. I mean, just the other thing, just looking at it too, Gary, is that ham radio science citizen, well, I see where in terms of the lowercase r, okay, I got it. So I guess we don't, yeah, the style is lowercase r, so. To make it fit,
Yeah, that's reasonable.
yeah.
I think
okay.
as wordy people, we tend to want to put a lot of words on
Yeah,
this.
exactly right. Yeah.
I've just found that obscures it, and people, they can't, you see them looking at it and they're going, trying to decipher it. It has to be real punchy and say, here's where you go for the full meal.
Maybe put in parentheses and dashes.
It'll just obscure the point. And then you get into people going, are you still doing that? And then you've lost all the enthusiasm.
Yep. That's good.
This is
So
very
how do
nice.
we, what I don't like is that the ham size kind of small at the top and gets lost on this.
You could use a narrow font.
You can make them both bigger and then offset them a little bit. They can get a little closer to the edge of the card there.
Yeah.
I know this is hard to do as a group, but that's not quite right either.
Well, you could center ham side, and then you wouldn't have to have the
colon.
Yeah.
Well, or unless you do a trick with the logo and you make it a lot smaller on that side instead of using the word.
Yeah, that's true. You could do that as well.
Yeah, and then it's a visual. I mean, I guess, from meetings and stuff, you tend to blow through it in terms of what it means. So, but you do focus on the logo and on the website. So,
And it has the dots.
correct.
That's right.
That's right. Who needs to spend money for an agency? We've got it solved right here.
Well, they've got a pretty good team at Scranton too, that depending if we wanted to use them, that's an option too. I
That'll
won't feel
cost you real
badly
money.
about that at all.
Here it's free. So,
Yeah,
well, that's on tape. I'm sorry. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, the bold was too much. But,
Make the Hamsci logo a point size larger.
this
Down,
guy
no,
here
not
or
there,
at the
not there,
top?
not there, down on the bottom, hamsci.org, under participate.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
I can worry about centering things later.
That's all right.
The other thing to do is to move the hamsci.org underneath the QR code too, but,
Yeah, I like it there. Yeah.
Now make it bigger and fill that space.
Yeah. Yep.
Because once it gets to be business card size, that's really small.
Yeah.
yeah, because you're looking at it like this.
Yep.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. Again, I mean, look at it on a business card. Okay, and that's roughly what? A little bit small. Mine is smaller than yours in this case. So, yeah.
Well, I say we leave it there for a moment. I'll fiddle around with the other one to make it match, clean up some of the spacing and whatnot, and come back and look at it next time, maybe.
Mhm.
Obviously, if people got ideas, please send them to me. I'd like to, once people have a chance to think about it a little bit.
Could you make in the first side, the color side, could you just make the word dots orange?
Let's see. Where he came from, I don't know.
Or that pretty blue, whatever, you know, pick up a color from the graphic.
You won't be able to tell on the card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if we're doing a poster, you know, like or a banner, I think then you can use color more effectively. But
Yeah.
if you're talking about something that's the size of a business card,
Yeah. Yeah. If
Yeah,
it's
we got
large, it draws you in. If it's small like this, it's probably just keep it simple. So,
yeah.
The bottom fonts are italic. Do you want to stick with italic?
I don't know, we could see what it looks like without.
Well,
Easy to
we
change.
can do that later. I just thought I'd mention it.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm just, is that better? I don't know.
Whatever.
Try bold text on that, Gary. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. And it can be bigger.
Too many Zoom windows.
Oops.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, one more notch.
Okay, the font is now
Nope,
Lucky
you're gonna lose it,
13.
yeah.
No,
There
I'll
you-
figure it out.
and the winner is 12.
Just stretch it out a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like the country music guys say, there ain't no money to be made above the first fret. But you gotta make it big.
Ward, what happens when you play a country music record backwards?
You get your truck back, you get your car back, you get your dog back.
You get your girl back. Yep, yep.
What do you get if you play new age music backwards?
Uh-oh.
New age music.
Yeah.
It's true. It's
Yep.
true.
I better hit the save button. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, see, there you go. And then, yeah, print it out real size and see if you can read it at arm's length. If you can't read it at arm's length, it's too small.
Too small, yeah.
And the participate, learn, explore can be about 50% bigger too.
Yep, yeah, just move that copy block up a little, a little larger if we can. Yeah. Oop.
Yeah, white space doesn't buy us anything.
Yeah. Although I'll tell you, I mean, with the card I'm using, here it is in white, okay? I mean, a white card looks pretty spiffy. So it's
Yeah.
real clean,
Well, you've got only one thing on it, it's
No,
basically.
no, I got a reverse, which is a mimic of the card that we're using right now for for the SEQP. But I mean, it's worked, with clubs and with media, that type of thing. So
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
even a card with just HamSci and the web URL
Yep.
would be just dandy.
Yep.
The name of our organization is kind of small up here. Now, this is the smallest thing in the card and it's not bold. So this kind of gets lost. But it makes sense just to bold the whole thing and not try to.
Well, I mean, that might be sort of like an offline issue to me. Again, I'll come back to the fact that maybe playing with the logo in a really small size, and then sort of reinforcing it as a visual in the ham radio citizen science investigation. But it's probably too much to play with here, for this meeting. But
yeah,
but it just might obviously it reinforces the visual on the other side of the card. Okay, so just a thought for downstream. Unless, Gary, you're going to match HamSci with the typeface on the other side of the card. I don't know what face that is.
That's probably like a Times New
Yeah, it
Roman or
may not
something.
hold at that size though, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks a little strange without the rest of the visual.
Or I could do it all in that typeface too, but
Well, that's the thing to play around with, but I mean,
okay, we'll worry
yeah,
about that
neither here
later.
nor there, right? Yeah, so
Okay. Well, we've got to start. A lot of good ideas. And we'd like the color in black on a white card because it's like I said, I try to do a little color on this one with a gray, a half-tone background, but maybe you're right. Cleaner is better.
right.
All right. Nathaniel, what would be your suggestion to get a better, because I mean, I just did a screen clip out of one of your obviously recent presentations to grab this ray tracing diagram.
I can send you a larger resolution. That figure comes right out of my dissertation.
Oh, wow. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'll email that to you.
So,
Okay. All right. Okay, I'll try and clean it up and we'll look at it again in a couple of weeks. Or maybe I'll have a couple of samples to hand out next week. How's that be at
That's
the
great.
conference? So, okay, good enough for that. Thank you all. Yeah, like I say, ideas welcome. The window of opportunity is still wide open on that. Okay. We've talked about the workshop next week. I don't think I don't know if there's anything more to discuss. I mean, the website is up, the abstracts are there.
How many are coming?
Let's see. I think about 100 are registered so far.
Good.
And about 35 online.
Great.
I'll be registering online.
Wonderful. Yeah, I expect the online registrations to increase substantially as we get closer.
Yeah, and that might be a blurb that we put out really towards the tail end of next or right before it, like Tuesday, Wednesday, that type of thing. I'll send a note to Mackenzie on it as well.
That sounds really good.
All right. Any other topics or subject people want to bring up before we take a couple of week break here from this call?
I had a thought, one
Sure.
of the things we were going to eventually talk about was what's next after this next eclipse. We don't have any in the United States for a little while, but there are a lot of eclipses, total solar eclipses. we could start working with organizations in that general region to act as sponsors of solar eclipse QSO parties. We could just, keep running the same software and collecting the same data, but having a local or regional organization, like one that goes through South America. We could get the Radio Club of Argentina involved, or Labre from Brazil, and they could get the local guys interested in a way that North Americans could not, and that would generate a lot of interest. Furthermore, there's some of these, a lot of them actually are through the equatorial zones, and that would indicate that there could be a big effect on TEP, that kind of thing. So we might shift or have specialty efforts dealing with special VHF modes that only exist on VHF. If we've got an eclipse that goes right through the equatorial anomaly or something like that, there could be some really interesting effects at, say, 50 megahertz or 2 meters or 70 centimeters. So let's get the VHF guys involved and have them do something.
The tornado sirens are going off again.
We're having a tornado warning, so.
I will let you know if we need to head to the base.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, watch your antennas too.
We had a derecho down at my station in Steelville, and let me tell you, that's a scary thing. It went from 0 to about 100 miles an hour in about 10 seconds. And big trees came down. I didn't lose any antennas, but we're still cleaning up. That was last July.
We had a derecho up here in Canada. It was awful, terrible.
They're no fun. All right, well, I'm going to check out and go see if I see any flying monkeys and witches on bicycles and that kind of stuff. So I'll see you guys at the show, at the circuits. Okay.
All right. Thanks for the input, Ward.
Stay safe, Ward.
You bet.
Yeah, I do have our document about things we might want to get to in the future. I'll add Ward's comments to that too, so we don't lose them. So. Good,
and
good.
certainly Ward's suggestion of following eclipses around the world, that follows on the work that Christina started, because she was doing that sort of thing while she was working on her PhD.
Yeah, she covered a lot of different continents. In fact, I think Antarctica was one of them too, which I thought was pretty exotic. So
yes,
it's definitely precedent for that. Okay, good, good. Anything else? I don't think we have anything going for the Ham Benson yet. I mean, we've got the forum in place. We've got the date and the times. We talked about a few people next week we may want to, but I suppose we got to get to the workshop and then we'll focus on the date a little more heavily.
Tomorrow I leave for Lubbock, Texas, and then on Saturday a friend and I there will be headed to the Midland Ham Fest, and I've got a whole bunch of solar eclipse QSL or business cards to hand out there, and we'll be talking about the solar eclipse.
Good, Bill. That's wonderful. Thank you. It's always good to have an ambassador in the West Central U.S. That's for sure, or Southwest. All right. Any other comments, questions, things people like to bring up the rest of today? Nope. I guess we're good then. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for your input, for joining in today.
See you in Cleveland, hopefully.
Thanks, Gary. Yep. See everyone in Cleveland.
All right. See many of you next week. Take care. Have a good one.
73s.
73.
73.